Everyone is born from a lonely individual. Before people form a group of life, we learn to enjoy the aloneness of a person. Today, the book we choose is from Jiangxun's 6th lecture on solitude. Jiangxun describes the theory of loneliness and lets people know more about aloneness. In Chapter 1, the topic is the aloneness of script. In the whole book, the theme is to describe how to be alone, but it's not the physically alone or numbers. It's how we communicate and live with ourselves. Our minds are just like castles. The floor of castles may still have holes and danger ways. In order to be the owner of our mind, we need to master the skill of solitude. The next chapter is the aloneness of language. A language is a tool that human beings use to pass their thought. When people use a language to communicate with others, it works, but if people don't hear your voice, does it work? In Chapter 3, it's about revolution. A declaration from a person's mind can change into a different form of oneself, which brings up revolutionary. It brings up crowds and passions for an abstract declaration from a person's mind. The revolutionist must have a clear mind of what he or she is making for society in order for dreams to come true. It is benefiting for a personal inner self-revolution. Isolation of a person's dream, the rule of revolutionists, chooses a sad ending of dying alone. In Chapter 4, the topic is about violence. In this chapter, Jiangxun discusses that we have been taught that violence is prohibited nowadays, but we also desire violence sometimes actually. Whether the fights or the bloody scenes in movies are, these violent rules are flowing in our boiling blood. To sum up, violence is the same as kindness. We need to go into the deeper cogitations and investigate between these research together. The next chapter is thinking. Thinking starts with why. Right and wrong thinking are on the two sides. Between them is where the thinking is. Getting closer to the middle is the process of thinking. We don't need to judge, just think about how to balance the different thoughts. Thinking hardly becomes a theory because each person has a different perspective. Thinking is lonely because we live in a society where there are only answers. We need to be alone so we can think clearly. In Chapter 6, the topic is morality. Loneliness is an attitude for human life and philosophy. Morality belongs ethics within the norms of human behavior. When people break the rule, it becomes incestuous. For humans, every individual is lonely, and the ethic only gives humans a moment of comfort and happiness. Maybe loneliness is negative in our opinion, but in our life, loneliness can become a wonderful thing to get along with ourselves. Learning to be lonely is not a bad thing. As long as people change their views, loneliness will become a beautiful display.